That's what you do. Get the girl's number.
You cheating on me with?
Don't call them the first day.
Oh, word.
The second.
How many days you wait, man?
The fourth day.
Before Kodak Black would release hit songs like Skirt and Tunnel Vision that would get him noticed from some of the biggest names in hip-hop like Drake and set him on a path to superstardom. Before Kodak Black's ascent would get halted in its tracks thanks to multiple arrests and a lengthy prison sentence before his recent release.
Nobody ain't even gonna let their mind, nobody brain ain't even gonna register like that. Like, let me put a beam on Yak.
Before Kodak Black would have almost 7 million subscribers on YouTube, 3.5 million followers on Twitter, nearly 10 million followers on Instagram at the time of this recording. Some people have a harder time staying on the right side of the law than the others, and South Florida rapper Kodak Black definitely fits that bill. His legal problems have persisted for years, basically the entire length of his professional career, and while it's hard to say that these issues have hurt his career, they sure aren't helping. When Kodak first appeared on the hip-hop scene as a wide-eyed teenager, his distillation of hundreds of years of American history and embodiment of a country locked in an endless struggle with race and class was widely evident in the lyrics to his music. This is a young man who grew up in a poverty-stricken environment and still managed to find a way to create emotionally intelligent observations based upon his own plight.
People just see like the shine, they don't see the grind or like the bags in my eyes, like, you know what I'm saying?
His unfiltered nature is perhaps part of what would get him into trouble later on in his life, but it's also what makes his music so powerful. Growing up the child of a single Haitian mother, Kodak had to basically skip his adolescence as a means of survival on the rough streets of Pompano Beach, and today I'm gonna tell you about what that cost him. It was poppin', guys, it's your boy Marlon Palmer, back at it again with a brand new video. This one taking a look at the come up of the now free guy, Kodak Black. Kodak has spent the last few years in prison for reasons we'll get towards at the end of this video, but to celebrate his release, I thought we'd take a look back at how he became so widely popular in the first place. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at DadDudeMcFly so we can chat some more, and let's get into the story. Kodak Black was born Dieuson Octave June 11th, 1997 in Pompano Beach, Florida, a mid-sized city about 35 miles from Miami where he was also raised. Pompano Beach has the largest percentage of Haitian immigrants of any other city in the US, and Haiti is exactly where his parents hailed from. Additionally, Florida is tied for 5th in the number of children living in single parents' homes, and Kodak spent the majority of his childhood growing up with only his mom, Dieuson Octave, living in the projects known as Golden Acres alongside with his 4 other siblings. This area of the city that the Sun Sentinel once referred to as haven for crack, cocaine, crime, and squalor would eventually become the backdrop for Kodak Black's music. Kodak started rapping when he was just in elementary school. From that time on, he would travel to local trap houses, not looking to do anything other than rap battle with grown men who worked there, selling drugs to pay their bills while trying to become rappers themselves. These men would become his role models, and he told Passion of the Weiss, how they keep themselves up, I wanted to keep up too. Whatever their motto is, that became my motto. I looked up to them. Whatever I see them do, I did too. While Kodak would spend his free time reading thesauruses and dictionaries to further his vocabulary, he'd spend just as much time living the street life. He'd frequently participate in local brawls and breaking and entering people's homes with his group of friends.
You gotta stay out of trouble first off,
And
right?
you know the trouble really follow you when you trying to move forward, go straight, go the right way.
Eventually, Kodak was expelled from school in the 5th grade for fighting and was later arrested while in middle school for Grand Theft Auto. When asked about his upbringing, Kodak says he was given 2 options: sell drugs with a gun on his hip, or rap. So, inspired by artists like Lil Boozy, he joined a local rap group called Brutal Youngins as a teenager. Back then, he went by the name J Black, and he was by far the youngest member of the squad. When he showed up in the group's music videos, it was like someone's little brother was stopping by for a visit. Like the little kid in the Sean Paul video, get busy. But Kodak's obvious ability made it clear that he belonged. Every time he opened his mouth, his own raw talent outshined everyone else's. By the time he was 15, the group had drifted apart, so Kodak began uploading his own music to YouTube, freestyling over songs by 2 Chainz and Wale, along with dropping his own tracks as well. He soon after became affiliated with another group called Collions and reached out to AD Julian, the CEO of Dollars and Deals Entertainment, who was working with the group at the time. Kodak let him know that it was his plan to become a solo artist. Speaking about Kodak, Julian told the Miami New Times, "I didn't really take him that seriously. He was like 15, but I'd take him to the studio and come back in 2 hours and he'd be finished with 3 songs. So I knew he was hungry. Rent was due." Julian signed him almost immediately, but the problem was Kodak wasn't only rapping about crimes, he was still committing them. Soon after, he faced a punishable by life charge for carjacking. Julian paid for his lawyer, who got the charges reduced. Once that was all cleared up, Kodak doubled down with a renewed sense of determination. In 2013, he signed up for Instagram under the name Kodak Black, which was the birth of his now world-famous moniker. Then that December, he dropped his first mixtape, Project Baby, with hit tracks like Ain't No Faking It. But while he was making noise in Florida, he was struggling to get publicity elsewhere. In response, he'd print out thousands of CDs and hand them out at big events around towns like car shows. He'd also travel all around from Palm Beach to Tallahassee, wherever a major event was happening, to get his name spread about. When he was 17, he dropped his second mixtape, Heart of the Projects, and by this point, people outside of his home state were finally listening too. The website Hot New Hip Hop called him the best rapper in high school in the nation, and his song No Flocking became a viral hit. That's my I don't even know if you guys see what I, Still, Kodak couldn't resist the call of the streets. He was frequently in and out of juvie, which meant he missed classes in high school and eventually dropped out of Blanche Ely High. But around that time, in October 2015, his breakthrough moment arrived when Drake dropped a video of himself dancing to Skirt. Later that month, Kodak was signing a deal with Atlantic Records. At only 18 years old, Kodak was ready to take over the world of hip-hop for good. Then came an escalating series of arrests that led to his eventual long-term incarceration. Things started to get really bad in February of 2016 when he was arrested for sexual battery in Florence, South Carolina. That night, a woman that accompanied him to his hotel room after a show, soon after entering the room, she said that Kodak ripped off her clothes, bit her, and sexually assaulted her. He would be charged with criminal sexual misconduct for this attack, and it's charge that has yet to be resolved to this day. Why? Well, a whole bunch of other charges just got in the way. Only 2 months later, he was seen buying weed from a drug dealer, and when he attempted to flee from police in his car, he threw a weapon out the window. After recovering the pistol, Kodak was arrested for possessing a weapon, despite being a convicted felon, as well as possession of marijuana and a number of traffic violations. After 3 months in jail, Kodak was sentenced to 1 year of house arrest and 5 years of probation. He was also ordered to complete community service, anger management, and community control supervision programs. But before he could be placed under said house arrest, his charge of sexual misconduct from earlier was changed to sexual battery, and he was sentenced to a further 120 days in prison, stemming from a totally different possession case. That boy down bad, my goodness. In November of 2016, Kodak was finally released from jail, but then immediately extracted to South Carolina for the sexual battery charge, where he was freed after posting a $100,000 bail. For a few months, Kodak kept his head down, but then in February of 2017, he was arrested once more, this time for violating the terms of his house arrest, including assaulting a bartender at a bar in Miami. While awaiting his trial, Kodak released his debut studio album, Painting Pictures, in March, and the album would peak at number 3 on the Billboard 200, selling about 71,000 units in his first week. The 2 months later, he would be sentenced to 364 days in prison, with the possibility of early parole if he completed a life skills course. He successfully did so and was released from jail in June after only serving 97 days. That boy got angels on his side, remember that. After almost 6 whole months out of lockup, Kodak found himself on the inside again after a police raid on his Florida home turned up charges for grand theft of a firearm, possession of a weapon or ammo by a Florida delinquent adult felon, possession of cannabis over 20 grams, child neglect without great bodily harm, and 2 counts of parole violation. Oh, and by the way, the raid was caught live on Instagram. That always helps. That always helps things.
Oh, man. You ain't got no search warrant. I don't have nothing in my pockets, man.
In April, Kodak was once more sentenced to 364 days in jail. He got credited for the 90 days he was awaiting trial and was released in August of 2018. During this stint in jail, Kodak worked hard to turn his life around. He earned himself a GED, changed his legal name to Bill Capri, and found faith in the Jewish religion. Once he was out, it seemed like things had turned around. He released hit songs like ZZ and Wake Up in the Sky, but then things began to spiral once more. In April of 2019, Kodak was arrested in New York while trying to cross the border into Canada with a pistol and marijuana. Taken to Niagara County Jail, he was released on a $40,000 bond. Less than a month later, found himself under arrest again, this time in Miami for another weapons possession only moments before he was set to take the stage at Rolling Loud. I remember that year. There was a lot of mans that got caught up at that Rolling Loud show. We gotta talk to the organizers.
We know that investigators, they knew that Kodak Black would be performing here. So just before showtime, in a coordinated effort between the ATF, Miami-Dade Police, and the U.S. Marshal's Office, they moved in for that arrest.
In court, Black apologized to the judge for what he describes as a mishap. But the judge told the rapper that while young people do stupid things, The problem is that you've been doing stupid things since you were 15. He was sentenced to more than 3 years in prison in November of 2019. Then, in the plot twist of all plot twists, former President Donald Trump pardoned Kodak as one of his last official acts as leader of the free world. In January of 2021, Kodak dropped his newest track, Last Day In, to celebrate his release. Kodak's biopic's gonna be epic. That's insane. Now that Kodak's out, he's planning on getting back into the swing of things and starting to release new music. But as for exactly when that will be, well, that's a story for another time and another place. After all, this is before they're famous. What do you guys think of Kodak's story? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to follow our series on Instagram at Before They're Famous. Let us know who you'd like to see profiled next. We've done Rilo Rodriguez, we've done Pooh Shiesty. Go check those out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.